Ladies and gentlemen, uh, good evening wherever you're watching from. Glad to have you with us. This is Eugene Okumu, Google News Lab teaching fellow for Sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm so glad to have you with us for our very first GNI live session. And today we'll be looking at geo and mapping and how you can use Google Earth to tell interactive stories along location-based information that you'd like to disseminate to your respective audiences. So just as a backgrounder for the rest of this week as well, we'll be having a series of sessions looking at various other areas that you can benefit from the wide range of Google News Lab tools and techniques for storytelling. So for instance, today we're looking at geo and mapping. Tomorrow we'll be looking at verification. The next day after that, we'll be looking at environmental journalism. And then Thursday we'll be looking at advanced search, and then we'll finish up the weekly bootcamp with a Friday session as well. So feel free to tune in back the same time throughout the week for the series of bootcamps. All right, so back to today's session. As I've mentioned, we're looking at geo and mapping. And before we get to that, just like to have a look at some of the other areas that Google News Lab has been working in. Of course, as I've mentioned, my name is Eugene Patrick Okumu, teaching fellow for the News Lab in Sub-Saharan Africa. My email is eugenepatrick@google.com. And to learn more about the tools and techniques captured in thematic courses, the link to follow is g.co/news training. All right, and right before we get into today's session, we'll be looking at some three areas that the Google News Lab is particularly keen on helping journalists get the best out of the platforms and tools that we have made available. So the first area, which is the primary focus of the Google News Lab teaching fellowship program, is to elevate and strengthen quality journalism. And this is especially with the advent of challenges in the digital space, such as fake news, clickbait, disinformation, and misinformation, and the likes. And some of these areas, challenge areas, are looked at in depth in some of the courses that we offer within the Google News Lab ecosystem. The other one, of course, is evolving business models and driving sustainable growth. And some of the platforms that have been developed, for example, in this area are platforms such as sign up with Google. Sorry about that. Yeah. And then the final pillar is to empower news organizations through technological innovations. And we primarily do this through a program that we have run for a few years now. It's the Google Innovation Challenge, where we offer funding to news organizations and individuals who have tools and projects that can really enhance how news and storytelling is told. And of course, we also have a team of developers that are continuously evolving some of the tools that we have on offer, as well as creating new ones that can be used to enhance storytelling online. All right, to learn more about the tools and courses, and these are updated on a quarterly basis. Again, the link is g.co/news trainings. You can sign up for thematic courses, and these are designed to help reporters find, verify, and tell news stories. The beauty of it as well is that these are courses that you can take at your pace. And once you have scored 100% on any of the courses that you attempt, which do range anywhere from about 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the type of content that is being shared. So once you've taken that and you've gotten a particular score, or rather you've gotten 100% score, you are able to get a certificate that you can then download for your own record keeping. So have a look at that as and when you have the time. All right, so today we are going to be looking at Google Earth and how to create your own stories on maps. And again, I will also give a bit of a backgrounder. So um, some years ago, it was a bit of a challenge to create stories on Google Earth, and this was simply because it required some technical know-how on coding and the likes. And so some of the earliest stories that were created on Google Earth in this way are Finding Home. This is a story that follows three families of Syrian refugees over the span of a year. And all these families had children at the point that they had left Syria amidst the civil strife that the country experienced. And a lot of the families were making their way to Europe and trying to start a new life. So this was a project done by Time. Of course, the title of it was Finding Home. And in 2016, they were tracing the three families through the various stops that they were making um, from Syria to the European to the European continent. So the other element of the story that Time did was that they used a combination of not just Google Earth, but also videos as well as text to tell their story. So you can have a combination of those to really enhance the kind of offerings that you're giving your audiences with the stories that you're telling. So as well, when you get into Google Earth, you will also, if you click on the Explore button, um, you'll also find some stories that have already been worked on in a similar fashion to what we've just seen with the Time magazine story. And you can explore those to get inspiration for some of your own stories. And if I can just show us quickly how that looks like when you sign into Google Earth. Right, so and I forgot to mention the link to the Google Earth platform is earth.google.com. You have two options of how you can use Google Earth. You can have the desktop version, which you'd have to download, but then you also have a web browser version that you can use when you want to create stories. All right, so this is what it looks like when you log into it. So it will have a background of various areas from the catalog of 3D Google imagery that you can has already been populated into the platform. And when you're now ready to create your own stories, you can just click on the Launch Earth feature, and it usually takes a few seconds to open, just because it's a heavy platform with a lot of 3D imagery, and therefore requires a bit of time and a strong internet connection to be able to open. But once it opens, you're then good to go. So as I mentioned with the explore option, if you want to find inspiration for some of the stories that have already been done, you want to look for this wheel. When you hover over it, it will usually give you text written Voyager. So that's the explore option. You click on that and you have a variety of stories that have already been created on Google Earth. and you can click on any one of them for inspiration with your own stories. So the stories range from personalities to current affairs, and all of them based on visually dependent stories that you can tell around geographies. All right, so some other things that you can also do with this platform is you can start to create your own points of interest. For example, you wanted to show, say, a racetrack. Maybe your city is hosting a marathon, as is the case with Nairobi, well, up until the pandemic. But Nairobi in March was supposed to host a half marathon called the Beyond Zero Marathon, which is basically a campaign to reduce maternal and child mortality rates in Kenya across all the 47 counties. So if you wanted to create points of interest of that particular marathon itself, you go to the option where you can set up a project. Then you can open your own new project. So a few options you have is you can create project in Drive, you can open project from Google Drive, you can create a KML file or import a KML file from Google Drive or import one from your own computer. So once you've selected the option you want to go with, you can then decide to give the project a title. So let's call this one test, then give it a description. Say, for example, we want to say we want to highlight the continent of Africa. And then you can select new features that you want to create in the story once you've titled it and given it a description. So you can add place marker, you can draw lines or shapes. So we'll click on lines or shapes, and then with our screen selected, let me just change the location. So on the bottom right screen, you have a few other control options that you can use for your storytelling. What I've just clicked on is flying back home. So this basically takes you back to your current location. The next icon of a figurine allows you to explore the area of interest using street view. Then you can have it as 3D or 2D. And then the compass icon, of course, shows you your bearing in relation to the north. Then you can also just have, you can either zoom out or zoom in. And then the globe just shows you the larger perspective of where it is that you are. So for this, because we want to highlight the continent of Africa, we'll just zoom out. All right, so sorry about that. I seem to have been sharing the landing page of Google Earth when I meant to show you something different. So just to recap, let me just take a few steps back. If you want to create a new project with your Google Earth Explorer opened, either as browser or as the desktop app, you want to click on the new projects icon, and then you can click on the new project here. But because we had already started on anyway, we'll just start on a new project. And as I mentioned, you can create project in Google Drive. You can open project from Google Drive, or you can create the KML file yourself, import the KML file from Google Drive in the event that you've hosted, if stored it there, or import the KML file from your computer. And this is in instances where you've probably already created a project, but you want to now move it from, say, from the old version of Google, and then create it in Google Earth, from the old version of Earth, rather. So we'll go ahead and create a KML file. So you want to title your project. We'll call this one GNI live test. And as I mentioned before, we want to highlight the continent of Africa. So with that done, you can then just select a new feature, and under new features, you'll find options of searching to add a place, to add a place marker, or draw a line or shape. So we'll go with the drawing a line of shape, and then we're zooming out from this region. So right now we're hovering over the larger expanse of the country, that is Kenya. And just this capability of zooming out and zooming in this much shows you just how detailed the catalogs of content on Google Earth are. So now that we have the area of interest that we want to highlight, you can just start by clicking on a point like so. Yeah, so with that, you can then name the area that you have just highlighted. So in this case, we'll say the continent of Africa. And then you're adding it to the project that we're currently running, which is the GNI live test. So you can then click and save that. And then you can also go back to a new feature and say now you want to search for a place. So let's go with Nairobi to start with. So once you have Nairobi selected, capital of Kenya, you can then go there and add it to the project, as you can see with the pop-up that has appeared on the right side of the screen. So just click on that. So say Nairobi County, and then click on save. And as you can see, our project is now populated with an additional location. So then we can add more features. Say we're now interested in looking at a capital in the west. Let's go with Lagos, Nigeria. So there you have it, Lagos, Nigeria, and the map will then zoom into the particular area that you're interested in adding. Then once you have that, it's all just as simple as clicking on the add to project. We'll say Lagos state, and click on save, and you have your new location added to the project. Then perhaps you can add one more and search for a place. So now we want to look for Pretoria. And so we have Pretoria, the capital of South Africa, then add that to the project. So we click on save and we have our new location added. So there's also other features you can use here. Like you've seen add place. So you can also choose to add a placemaker. So if you click on placemaker, it's as simple as selecting a location where you'd like to add a placemaker. Probably you'd then name it. In this case, I've dropped my place marker in Zambia. So then I just save that and it is added to the project. So that's how you can use all the three features within. And then you can also choose to make a presentation of it. So in the first instance, as a table of content, we have 5 items. And what we're starting with is the continent of Africa, as I had marked it out. And next, we'll make a quick trip to Nairobi. After that, we head over to Lagos. And after that, stop in Pretoria and finish our tour of the continent with our place marker in Zambia. So once you're done with your KML file and say you want to post it to a story, it's as simple as exporting the file. It's as simple as exporting the file, and then you can opt to use it with your stories. All right. So once we have, as you've seen how you can using sorry, you can use create projects using Google Earth, and as I've said before, it's a very expansive tool for when you want to tell geo-based stories. So this slide that we're currently looking at shows you the processes that have already taken us through and how to create a project. All right, so we'll then make a quick take a quick overview of Google Earth Studio. So Google Earth Studio also enables you to tell stories that are location based, and it gives you a bit of a different set of options for treatment for stories. So it's an animation tool that uses Google Earth's satellite imagery, satellite and 3D imagery, and it enables you to create broadcast quality video that you can then incorporate into your stories that you're working on. So I'll show us a quick demo, and then we can carry on with the rest of the presentation. Right, so we'll just go back to earth.google.com. Then we can launch Earth. Give it a few seconds to finish loading. All right, so once you have our Google Ads Studio opened, a few things to note here is you have keyframe animation. Keyframe animation basically enables you to automate the process of transitions between points of interest. You can also change the camera angles for your projects as they transition, and then you have animatable effects as well. So projects. So you can create an orbit to fly from point to point, and then you can select up to 5 templates to get started. And you don't need any animation experience to be able to. So we can click on Art Studio and we can see what it actually looks like. Let me just quickly switch to that tab. You can choose between blank projects and projects that you already have. So for example, we had already created a KML file of uh, Africa, then place markers for Nairobi, Lagos, Pretoria, and Zambia. So you can elect to import that into the Art Studio, or you can go with a blank project. So for blank projects, you have the drop down option, and then you click on Quick Start. It will give you some templates that are already set. So you have the option to zoom to particular locations. You can select orbit, and as I hover my cursor over the various templates, you can get a preview of what uh, the, the the transition looks like. So you have the orbit, you have the zoom to. Under the zoom to is what we saw as the default setting when creating projects, KML projects on Google Earth. Then you also have point to point. And the fourth template as well is spiral. So it just depends on the kind of effect that you want to create for your stories that you want to tell using Google Art Studio. So I'll quickly show us an example of something that's already been done using Google Art Studio. And this is the various sporting centers for the Tokyo Olympics that were supposed to be used during the Summer Olympics that had to be postponed on account of the pandemic. So I'll quickly jump into that, and then we can. So I'll give it a bit of time to load. Right, so that's once that once that is done, you can see that just like with the project we created, you have a few things that we can point out here. Like for instance, we have introductory um, we have an introduction slide rather. This is for the Google News Initiative on the project creating the Olympic Games stadiums in Japan. Then you can select the next one and you can see that the area of interest has been highlighted. We've drawn a shape around Japan, and we have highlighted the capital, Tokyo. And from here we have a variety of stadiums where the games were to be held. So New National Stadium, Seafront Rowing and Canoeing. And you can click on the various points and get some information about it, as well as a 3D rendition of it. Some imagery as well to go with, and so on and so forth. So these just show you the variety of areas that the games were to be held in. Right, so I'll quickly play for us a demo of Google Earth Studio. This is just an animation reel. All right, so as you've seen, that's the show reel for the Google Earth Studio, and it just shows you the extended capabilities that the platform has to offer. So you can sign up today for a preview. The link to follow is g.co/artstudio. That's g.co/artstudio, so that you can get hands-on a feel of how the platform runs. All right. So if you have any questions about today's session and the tools that the tool that we've looked at, you can reach out to newslabsupport@google.com for assistance with the understanding of the platform, as well as if you're interested in getting other trainings via Google Hangouts for individual newsrooms, you can put in a request through newslabsupport@google.com, and you will be assisted accordingly. And as well, just to learn more about the various tools and techniques and on offer that we have that enhance your storytelling capabilities, g.co/news training is the link you want to follow. As I mentioned before, you'll get thematic courses that are designed to help reporters to, among other things, find, verify, and tell news stories. All right, so I have been your instructor for the session. My name is Eugene Okumu, as I mentioned, teaching fellow for Google News Lab in Sub-Saharan Africa. Thank you so much for making the time to attend the session. And as I mentioned as well, we have 4 more days of boot camps, 4:30 p.m. East African time, between tomorrow and Friday. And we'll be looking at other thematic areas around news and storytelling in the online platforms. So I hope to see you tomorrow as well, on to Friday. And thank you so much for attending today's session. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Yeah, so enjoy your afternoon, your evening, from wherever it is you're watching.